My boss smiled and said, "Congratulations, you're terminated." I nodded, handed over my laptop, and said, "Good luck with the investor demo tomorrow." As security escorted me out, I smiled. The hidden code would activate in 10 minutes. But let me back up. 6 months ago, I thought Marcus Johnson was the kind of boss you'd want to grab beers with after work. The kind who'd remember your birthday and ask about your girlfriend. I was David Thompson, 28 years old, and naive enough to believe that hard work and loyalty meant something in corporate America. Have you ever trusted someone so completely that you'd share your deepest dreams with them? That was me with Marcus. I'd been coding since I was 12, building apps in my mom's basement back in Ohio. My dream wasn't just to write code. It was to create something that would actually change people's lives. The idea hit me during one of those late-night coding sessions that stretched until 3 a.m. I was staring at my bank account, watching my student loan payments eat up half my paycheck when it clicked. What if there was an AI that could predict your spending patterns and automatically optimize your finances? Not just budgeting, actual prediction. I'm talking about an algorithm that could analyze your behavior and tell you exactly how much you'd need for groceries next month, when to expect that unexpected car repair, even which subscription services you'd forgotten about. I spent weeks perfecting the prototype in my cramped studio apartment. Sarah, my girlfriend, would find me passed out over my keyboard, surrounded by empty energy drink cans and post-it notes covered in mathematical formulas. She'd bring me leftover pizza from her restaurant job and just shake her head. "David, you're going to burn yourself out," she'd say. But I could see the pride in her eyes. She believed in this thing as much as I did. The algorithm was beautiful. 94% accuracy in spending prediction after just 2 weeks of user data. I'd run the numbers 100 times. This wasn't just another fintech app. This was revolutionary. That's when I made my first mistake. I trusted Marcus. He was the kind of guy who wore expensive sneakers with his business casual outfit, trying to be the cool boss who understood tech culture. When I mentioned my side project during one of our quarterly reviews, his eyes lit up in a way that should have been my first warning sign. "David, that's incredible," he said, leaning forward in his ergonomic chair. "You know, I've been looking for passion projects like this. The company could really benefit from innovation like yours." I should have kept my mouth shut. But Marcus had this way of making you feel heard, valued. He asked detailed questions about the algorithm, wanted to see demos, even suggested I present it to the senior team. "Just think about it," he said. "With our resources, you could scale this properly, make it reach millions of users instead of just being another indie app that gets lost in the App Store." The smart part of my brain, the part that had learned not to trust authority figures after watching my dad get screwed over by his company's pension fund, whispered warnings. But the dreamer in me, the part that had been coding since middle school, drowned out those whispers with visions of success. I started staying even later at the office, refining the code on company time. Marcus would walk by my desk at 9 p.m. and pat my shoulder. "That's the kind of dedication that changes the world, David." But something felt off. Just a nagging feeling, like when you know you've forgotten something important, but can't remember what. My mom called one evening while I was debugging a particularly stubborn function. "You sound tired, honey," she said. "Are you sure this boss of yours has your best interests at heart? I've seen too many good people get taken advantage of." Mom had always been protective, maybe overly so since Dad died. But her question stuck with me. That night, I made a decision that would save my entire future. I created what programmers call a backdoor, a hidden access point in the code that only I knew about, just in case. It wasn't malicious, I told myself. It was insurance, a way to prove ownership if things ever went sideways. The code would function normally for anyone who used it, but without my specific authentication sequence, certain critical functions would become unstable. Sarah noticed the change in my mood over dinner the next week. "You've been weird lately," she said, twirling spaghetti around her fork, more paranoid than usual. "Marcus has been asking a lot of technical questions," I admitted, like really specific stuff about the algorithm's core functions. So maybe he's just interested. Maybe. Or maybe he's planning something. The next Monday, Marcus called me into his office, the same office where he'd encouraged my dreams just weeks before. But this time, something was different. He was too eager, too focused. "David, I've been thinking about your AI project. I think it's time we made it official, company-sponsored development." My stomach dropped. "What do you mean?" "Well, you developed it using company resources, company time. It makes sense that it should be a company asset. We'll give you a bonus, of course, and full credit as the lead developer." The words hit me like ice water. Company asset, lead developer, not founder, not owner, employee. "I'd need to think about that," I said carefully. Marcus's smile faltered for just a second. "Of course. Take your time. But David, I want you to understand. This could be huge for your career here. Senior developer track, stock options, the whole package." I nodded and left his office with my heart racing. That evening, I called my mom. "Mom, hypothetically, if someone tried to steal your idea, what would you do?" She was quiet for a long moment. "Honey, I'd make sure I had proof it was mine, and I'd be prepared for them to try to take it anyway." That night, I spent hours adding layers to my security system. If anyone tried to use my code without proper authentication, they'd get exactly what they deserved. The algorithm would work perfectly for testing, for small demos. But under pressure, during something important, like, say, an investor presentation, it would reveal its true nature. I wasn't planning revenge. I was planning protection. The change in Marcus happened gradually, then all at once. Suddenly, he was having private meetings with the CTO. Suddenly, he was asking me to document every aspect of my algorithm. Suddenly, he started talking about company innovation and team projects in ways that made my skin crawl. I started recording our conversations on my phone. Just audio, nothing illegal, but enough to prove what was happening. Then came the meeting that changed everything. Marcus stood at the front of the conference room, his laptop connected to the big screen, wearing the kind of smile that should have come with a warning label. "Team, I'm excited to announce our newest product development initiative," he began, "an AI-powered financial prediction app that will revolutionize how Americans manage their money." My blood turned to ice as slide after slide of my work appeared on the screen. My algorithm, my UI designs, my user research, even my tagline, "Financial freedom through intelligent prediction." But with one critical difference, Marcus Johnson listed as project lead and innovator. I sat in the back row, watching my dreams get repackaged and sold back to me. Jennifer from legal caught my eye and quickly looked away. She knew. They all knew. "We'll be presenting to investors next Thursday," Marcus continued. "This could be the Series A funding that takes our company to the next level." My hands shook as I texted Sarah under the table. "They stole everything." Her response came instantly. What are you going to do? I stared at that question for the rest of the meeting. What was I going to do? I was 28 years old, had $50,000 in student debt, and my boss had just stolen my life's work in front of the entire company. But as I watched Marcus bask in applause for my innovation, I remembered the insurance policy I'd built into the code, the trap that would activate under very specific circumstances. After the meeting, Marcus pulled me aside. David, I need to see you in my office. I followed him down the hallway, my heart pounding, but my mind strangely calm. This was it, the moment I'd been unconsciously preparing for. Marcus closed the door and gestured to the chair across from his desk, the same chair where I'd once shared my dreams. David, we have a problem, he said, not bothering with pleasantries anymore. This AI project is too important to have any complications. What kind of complications? The kind where former employees claim ownership of company intellectual property. His smile was gone now, replaced by something cold and calculating. I'm going to need you to transition off the project, effective immediately. And if I don't, then I'll have to ask you to transition off the company, permanently. The room was silent except for the hum of the air conditioning. I thought about my apartment rent, my student loans, my mom's medical bills. I thought about Sarah working double shifts at the restaurant to help cover our expenses. Then I thought about the code sitting on Marcus's laptop. The code with my hidden insurance policy embedded in its core functions. The policy that would activate during high-stress situations, like, say, a crucial investor demo. I understand, I said quietly. Marcus looked surprised. You do? Yeah, I get it. Business is business. Exactly. His relief was palpable. I'm glad you're being reasonable about this. We'll give you a good severance package, 6 months' salary plus a recommendation letter. That's generous. And David, there's just one more thing. We'll need you to sign an NDA, standard procedure for departing employees who worked on sensitive projects. I nodded slowly. Of course. Over the next 24 hours, I prepared for what I knew was coming. I transferred copies of all my original work to personal drives. I documented timestamps proving I'd developed the algorithm months before joining any company project. I gathered every piece of evidence that proved the idea was mine. But most importantly, I refined my insurance policy. The code would function normally for basic testing. It would pass quality assurance. It would look perfect in preliminary demos. But during a high-pressure investor presentation, when the stakes were highest and the audience was most important, my code would reveal its true loyalties. The next morning, Marcus called me into his office one last time. He was sitting behind his desk, wearing a navy suit that probably cost more than my monthly rent. 2 security guards stood by the door. On his desk was a manila envelope and my company laptop. David, he said, standing up with that same cold smile. Congratulations, you're terminated. I looked at the security guards, then back at Marcus. I see. Nothing personal, just business. I stood up and walked to his desk, picked up my laptop and held it out to him. Good luck with the investor demo tomorrow, I said. Marcus took the laptop, his smile widening. Thank you. I'm sure it'll go great. As the security guards escorted me through the office, past my coworkers who suddenly found their computer screens fascinating, I felt strangely calm. In the elevator, one of the guards looked at me apologetically. Sorry, man, this doesn't seem right. Don't worry about it, I said. Sometimes things have a way of working themselves out. As we walked through the lobby toward the exit, I checked my watch. 2:10 p.m. The investor demo was scheduled for 2:00 p.m. tomorrow. The hidden code would activate exactly 24 hours after I was officially terminated. I smiled as the security guards walked me to my car. Marcus had stolen my idea, destroyed my trust, and ended my career. But he had no idea that in less than 24 hours, my code would teach him the most expensive lesson of his life. The trap was set. Now, all I had to do was wait. The call came at 2:47 p.m., exactly 47 minutes after the investor demo was supposed to begin. "David?" The voice was shaky, desperate. I recognized Marcus's assistant, Jessica. "Marcus needs to speak with you, right now." I was sitting on my couch, Sarah beside me, with her laptop open to TechCrunch, refreshing the page every few minutes. We'd been waiting for news, any news, about what happened in that conference room. "I'm sorry, Jessica, but I don't work there anymore. Remember?" "David, please." Something went wrong with the presentation. The app, it's not working. I could hear shouting in the background, multiple voices overlapping in panic. Sarah raised her eyebrows at me, and I put the call on speaker. "What kind of not working?" I asked, trying to keep my voice neutral. "The screen. It's showing something about stolen property, and your name. The investors are asking questions, and Marcus is—" The line went dead. Sarah stared at me. "Holy shit, David. What did you do?" Before I could answer, my phone buzzed with a text from Jennifer in legal. "Call me, now. Use my personal number." I dialed, and Jennifer picked up on the first ring. "David, where are you right now?" "At home. Why?" "Good. Stay there. Don't go anywhere near the office. What happened in that demo? It's bad. Really bad." "What exactly happened?" Jennifer's voice dropped to a whisper. 20 minutes into the presentation, right when Marcus was showing off the algorithm's predictive capabilities, the entire screen changed. Big red letters. "Stolen property of David Thompson." Then all the financial data scrambled, and the app completely crashed. My heart was pounding, but I kept my voice steady. "That's unfortunate." "David," the lead investor stood up and walked out, said something about not funding companies that can't even secure their own IP. The other four followed him. I closed my eyes, trying to process what this meant. It had worked. The trap had actually worked. "There's more," Jennifer continued. "Marcus is telling everyone it was sabotage. He's threatening to call the FBI, press charges for corporate espionage. But David, I need you to know. I've been documenting everything. The emails, the meetings, the timeline of when you actually developed this. If this goes legal, you're covered." "Why are you helping me?" "Because I've seen Marcus do this before, to other employees. Someone needs to stop him." After I hung up, Sarah and I sat in silence for a long moment. Then she started laughing. "I can't believe you actually did it. You set a trap for your own boss." "I set a trap for a thief," I corrected. "There's a difference." My phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Texts from coworkers, missed calls from Marcus, LinkedIn notifications that were multiplying by the minute. Word was spreading fast in the tech community. By evening, the story had hit the industry blogs. Startup demo goes spectacularly wrong as employee claims IP theft. TechCrunch ran it as their lead story. The Verge picked it up an hour later. By midnight, it was trending on Twitter. But the real earthquake came the next morning. My mom called at 7 a.m., her voice a mixture of pride and concern. David, honey, you're on the news. Channel 7 just ran a segment about that tech company scandal. They mentioned your name. I turned on the TV to see a reporter standing outside my old office building. Sources inside the company confirmed that the algorithm was originally developed by former employee David Thompson, who was terminated just one day before the failed investor presentation. Thompson's representatives claim he has documentation proving ownership of the intellectual property, raising serious questions about corporate practices at tech firms across Silicon Valley. Sarah nearly choked on her coffee. Representatives? What representatives? Before I could answer, my phone rang. Unknown number. Is this David Thompson? This is Rebecca Chen from Morrison & Associates. We're intellectual property attorneys, and we'd like to discuss representation. What? Mr. Thompson, your case has attracted significant attention. We specialize in IP theft cases against corporations. Would you be available for a consultation this afternoon? 3 hours later, I was sitting in a glass conference room 40 floors above downtown, while Rebecca Chen laid out my options. Your documentation is excellent, she said, spreading printouts across the mahogany table. Original code timestamps, email chains, development logs. Plus, the fact that your algorithm revealed itself yesterday proves you had embedded authentication measures. What does that mean legally? It means you can prove ownership beyond any reasonable doubt. More importantly, it means Marcus Johnson and his company are in serious trouble. Rebecca pulled up news articles on her laptop. The story broke this morning that 3 other former employees have come forward with similar claims. Apparently, Marcus has been doing this for years. I stared at the screen. 3 other developers, all claiming their ideas had been stolen and repackaged as company innovations. All of them had been fired shortly before their projects went to market. This is bigger than just you, David. This is a pattern of corporate theft that could result in criminal charges. My phone buzzed with a text from a number I didn't recognize. This is Marcus. We need to talk. I can explain everything. I showed the text to Rebecca, who shook her head. Don't respond. Let us handle all communication from this point forward. But the messages kept coming. From Marcus, from the company's legal team, from former co-workers who wanted to know if the rumors were true, each text more desperate than the last. David, please call me. We can work this out. The company is willing to discuss a settlement. You're destroying innocent people's livelihoods. That last one hit me harder than I expected. Sarah found me staring at my phone that evening, scrolling through LinkedIn posts from my former co-workers. A lot of them are updating their resumes, I said. The company's stock dropped 15% today. They're talking about layoffs. Sarah sat down beside me. Hey, you didn't create this situation. Marcus did. But I'm the one who triggered it. You protected your own work. That's not the same thing. The next week was a blur of legal meetings, media requests, and phone calls from recruiters. Rebecca filed a formal lawsuit against Marcus and the company. The local news wanted interviews. 3 different tech companies reached out with job offers. But the call that changed everything came on a Thursday morning. David, this is Marcus. I almost hung up, but something in his voice stopped me. He sounded broken. I know your lawyers told you not to talk to me, but I'm not calling as your former boss. I'm calling to apologize. I put the call on speaker so Sarah could hear. David, I fucked up. I fucked up so badly that I can't even sleep at night. Marcus? No. Let me finish. You trusted me. You came to me with your dream, your life's work, and I saw dollar signs instead of the person standing in front of me. I convinced myself that I was helping you, that the company could scale your idea better than you could alone. I could hear him crying, but that wasn't my decision to make. And when you started asking questions, when I realized you might fight back, I panicked. I thought if I could just get you out of the picture quietly, everything would work out. Sarah grabbed my hand. The board is firing me tomorrow, Marcus continued. The FBI opened an investigation yesterday. My wife filed for divorce this morning. And you know what? I deserve all of it. Marcus, I'm not calling to ask for forgiveness. I'm calling to tell you that I'm going to make this right. I'm transferring all rights to your algorithm back to you. Full ownership, no strings attached. The company will also provide funding for your startup if you want it. I was quiet for a long moment. Why now? Because I saw the news segment about your mom, how proud she was, and I realized that I almost destroyed something beautiful because I was too much of a coward to create something beautiful myself. The transfer happened quickly after that. Rebecca handled the paperwork, ensuring that I retained full intellectual property rights. The company, desperate to avoid further scandal, offered a settlement that included startup funding and a public apology. But I had bigger plans. Sarah and I used the settlement money to rent a small office space downtown. We hired Jennifer as our legal counsel. She'd been laid off in the company's post-scandal downsizing. 3 of my former co-workers joined us, along with 2 developers from other companies who'd heard about what we were building. 6 months later, Thompson Financial AI officially launched. The app worked exactly as I'd originally envisioned. Users could link their bank accounts, and our algorithm would analyze their spending patterns, predict future expenses, and automatically optimize their savings. Within the first month, we had 50,000 active users. But more importantly, we built something I'd never had at my old job: a company culture based on transparency and respect. Every employee owns equity. Every idea is attributed to its creator. Every decision is made collaboratively. Marcus sent a congratulations card when we hit our first 1,000,000 users. Just a simple note. You built something amazing. I'm sorry I almost destroyed it. I kept the card in my desk drawer, not as a trophy, but as a reminder. The day we got our Series A funding, $3 million from the same investor group that had walked out of Marcus's demo, I called my mom. "David, I saw the TechCrunch article," she said, her voice thick with emotion. "Your father would be so proud." "Thanks, Mom. But more than that, I'm proud of how you handled this whole thing. You could have destroyed that man completely, but you showed mercy when it mattered." I looked around our office, where Sarah was leading a product meeting, where Jennifer was reviewing our latest patent application, where my team was building something that would genuinely help people manage their finances. "Sometimes the best revenge isn't destruction," I told her. "It's proving they never deserved what they tried to steal." A year later, we were featured on the cover of Fast Company. The developer who trapped his boss and built an empire. The article detailed how my hidden code had exposed a pattern of corporate IP theft and led to new legislation protecting developers' rights. But the part I was most proud of wasn't the business success or the industry recognition. It was the email I received from a young developer in Portland who'd read our story. "Mr. Thompson, My boss is trying to steal my app idea. After reading about what you did, I know I'm not powerless. I'm documenting everything and building my own insurance policy. Thank you for showing me that integrity isn't just about doing the right thing. It's about being prepared when others don't. I forwarded the email to Sarah, who was now my fiancée and co-founder. Look familiar? I wrote. Her response came immediately. The student becomes the teacher. I love you for building something that protects other people's dreams. That evening, I was coding late in our expanded office space, working on new features for our AI system. Sarah brought me coffee and sat down at her desk across from mine. Remember when you used to code until 3 a.m. in that tiny apartment? She asked. Yeah, but this feels different. How? I gestured around the office, where the walls were covered with thank you letters from users who'd saved for their first house or paid off their student loans using our app. Back then, I was coding to escape something. Now, I'm coding to build something. And if someone tries to steal this? I smiled and pulled up a few lines of code on my screen. Hidden deep in our system's core functions was a new kind of protection. Not a trap this time, but an authentication system that would ensure our work could never be separated from our identity. Let's just say I learned from experience. Some lessons are worth remembering. As I watched Sarah review our user feedback, I realized that Marcus had actually done me a favor. By trying to steal my dream, he'd forced me to fight for it, and in fighting for it, I discovered something more valuable than any algorithm. The knowledge that the best security system isn't hidden code. It's building something so genuinely valuable, with such clear ownership and purpose, that no one can take credit for it but you. My phone buzzed with a news alert. Tech company CEO sentenced to 2 years for IP theft. Marcus's case had finally concluded. He'd served as a corporate consultant during his trial, helping other companies identify and eliminate unethical practices. I thought about texting him congratulations on completing his sentence, then decided against it. Some chapters need to end cleanly. Instead, I opened our company Slack and typed a message to the team. Pizza's on me tomorrow. We just hit 2 million users. The responses came flooding in. Celebration emojis, thank you messages, excitement about our growth. This was what success felt like when you built it honestly. I looked at the code, still open on my screen. The same algorithm that had started this whole journey. But now it was surrounded by features built by our entire team, protected by patents in my name, and helping real people build better financial futures. Sometimes you have to plant traps to catch thieves. But the real victory isn't watching them fall. It's proving they never deserved what they tried to steal in the first place.